feet.
Whoa.
It's quite big. Thank you both very much for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Charlotte, last time I looked, you have 1.4 million followers on Instagram. Paige, you have 1.9.
Competition. It's on.
Bring it.
Follow me.
Yeah. How do you get there?
Gosh, I guess.
Why did you go on Instagram in the first place? As a fighter, do you actually need to be on Instagram?
Yeah, so I started Instagram when I first got into the UFC, and I noticed after my first fight that was kind of the thing to do, is have a huge social network following, and that was how sponsors and endorsement deals actually pick you up. Your performance matters, but it also matters that you have an audience watching you. So for me, social media is a part of my job, but it's not my job. So I notice my followers significantly go up just when I am doing something worth watching. So that's why, me being a professional fighter, I'm doing something unique that people actually care to see.
Okay. And Charlotte, how did you get started? Because everyone who opens an Instagram account, you start at zero. Like, what did you do in the very beginning?
Well, I started at a young age with just my friends, and when it first started years ago, and took pictures. But for me, when I was starting to model, I was having a hard time finding a modeling agency to rep me, so I started just putting a lot of my work on Instagram, and I got amazing feedback, and that's all went from there.
Okay, and you both do your own social media content? You don't have like staff or agencies do it for you?
I do not, no. I run all my social media by myself. I take great pride in my image and who I am as a person, and I never want to put that on somebody else to try to display who I am or interpret who I am. So I like to handle my own social media and show people who I am behind the scenes, behind just the professional fighter, that there's so much more to me to see, and I feel like I can really share my story through social media.
Okay. Charlotte, have you ever used a team to do it?
I have. I'm really bad. Like, I used to be good at it, and I used it, and then, the last couple of years, I just kind of, stopped, didn't post as regularly, and my agency was like, we really need someone to do it for you, because you're not. And I did it, and I noticed it wasn't authentic.
It was not what, sorry?
Authentic.
Not authentic, okay.
So, for me, it wasn't me. So maybe I'm not posting as much, but when I do post now, it's me, it's a picture I like, and it's something I'm passionate about, so yeah.
Okay. And if you don't post, do your fans start nagging you and asking where the hell you are and stuff like that? Are you under pressure to post?
Yeah, I definitely am. I feel like, people want to see the person behind who they're following on social media. And that was the biggest thing. I broke my arm in my last fight, so I was actually out of training for 10 months. So my fans were really disappointed. They wanted to see me in the gym. They want to see the process of me getting my life together and healing from such a significant injury and getting back into the gym and back into training. So, for a while I would disappear, and then you have those true fans who really care who you are and want to know that you're doing well and that you're healing, and they're excited that I just announced I'll be fighting in January 19th, so
right.
I have a fight coming up.
Your injury is it was pretty severe, right? It was because I saw it on Instagram, it's how many stitches?
Yes, well, I had two arm surgeries, and then they took a hip bone graft from my hip to fill the surgery in my arm. So, yeah, I have a plate running from my elbow to my wrist now. So it was a very significant surgery. But I love what I do. It was totally worth it. I can't wait to fight again. So, yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Do you guys put any, is there any kind of thought or strategy that you put into your posts? I mean, on Instagram, I'm like an amateur compared to these guys. I mean, it's just pictures of my dog, a funny sign, whatever I'm drinking in the pub. It's it's not exactly viral content. But when you guys are putting an image up, how much thought do you put into it?
I mean, to me, it's just finding that picture I love, whether it's about me or my work or something I'm doing. I don't really strategize it, which I should. Maybe that's something you can teach me. So no, I don't. But.
I didn't at first, and then I noticed that there was a lot of, I do go through my comments. I like to see what my fans are engaging with, and I noticed that they really like to see the process. So they like to see the process behind everything that I do. They don't just like to see a training picture or a picture of me. They want to know, the behind the scenes that you wouldn't necessarily get to see if you just tune in and watch me fight on TV. It's, those little bits and pieces that are like the secret parts of my life that you can only get from following me. It's something that they really appreciate.
Okay, and tell me about the difference or the different ways that you use Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram. Are you on all the platforms, or are there some of them where you've just walked away?
I mean, for me, I mostly just Instagram, but I have Twitter. But I would like to get into, YouTube and stuff like that, creating a channel or something in the future, because now there's so many platforms to have. I can't keep up with it. Every day there's something new, and you're like, oh my God, I'm not on that. So you have to be up with it, I think.
Yeah, and I do believe it's really important to try to strategize and pick which ones are best for you and your image. I would say that I am very good at Instagram, and that's the one that I focus on. I think it's important for companies and for, startups, if they do want to use social networking as a platform to brand themselves, to pick one and be very, very good at it. Don't spread yourself too thin and spend too much time on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Yeah. Pick one and be very, very good at it, and you will see a significant following build, and then that's when the monetization comes.
Is there one you've tried where you've just abandoned it, where you've said, you know what, this is not good for me or my fans, and I'm not going to put the effort in?
I recently started YouTube, so I have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
I got 2 videos up. It was really exciting at first, and then now I haven't had a video in like 2 months. So that's when it is a little bit harder for me, because I feel like it does take so much more to put together an entire video to put on YouTube, to share a piece of your life. I think it's very important, and I want to get better at it, and I'm going to continue to use it. But it was a lot harder than I anticipated.
Yeah.
Okay.
You kind of just like forget you have those accounts. You're like, oh, I should probably share the same thing on Twitter, but I definitely don't want to cancel any out, but there's definitely some where you just forget about it.
Okay. And how much time does this take? Like, do you dedicate like an hour a day to this stuff, or like how time consuming is it?
You definitely, if you want to see significant growth, yes, you should dedicate time to it. I notice I get more followers when I'm doing something that matters, and I'm doing something worth watching. So I don't actually strategize or try to spend a specific amount of time a day focused on social media. It's absolutely more just do something worth watching, and people will watch. And that's when I, have more growth and more views, is when I actually do something that matters.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's also when you're the busiest, whether it's with work or you're traveling, you just automatically have stuff to post. Like today, having a picture from a web summit, you post it. For me, I probably should set aside that hour to find content, because I lack in the content department. But I think it depends if you're working or you're working out. It just kind of naturally happens.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me about sort of security and safety. You have millions of people looking at these photos and following you. You have fans who are probably a bit too obsessive. Do you get trolls and harassers and stalkers and stuff like that? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, you absolutely do. Anytime you build yourself and brand yourself, you're going to have people that don't necessarily agree with your mission or what you do. I definitely found it hard at first to have that thick skin and notice that there will be those negative comments, and I don't have to touch upon every single one. I don't need to change myself to fit this image to make everybody happy. I think that as long as you're being true to yourself and being true to your brand and your image, then you're going to have positive feedback. But anytime you have a significant following, there's going to be those people. It's really easy to hide behind an Instagram page. But you also have to know that those people saying those things, they're still paying attention, and you still matter.
I recently just had an incident with, a fan that had been following me for years and was trying to find me and found my parents, which was really...
Found your parents?
Yes. They went to my parents' work. So that kind of really just stood out to me and really frightened me, and makes you realize not only are you putting yourself out there, but it's your family or your friends. And, I have a niece. I don't like to share her relationships because it can be really scary. They, can really obsess and try and find you. So I think it's really important, whether it's a geotag at where you're at, doing it once you leave, or, being careful where you are and the people around you.
Okay. So that's interesting. In that incident, did you have to call the police? Was this guy dangerous?
You just kind of hope for the best. But yeah, you just are as polite as you can be. And obviously,
Okay.
thank God I wasn't there. But you just have to be careful. And it's things I wouldn't even think of. And for me, it was like, oh, wow, this is an actual thing.
So that's actually an interesting tip. Like taking a photo and saying where you are, but leaving the area before you post it. That is, as a normal person, that wouldn't even occur to me.
Yeah, because sometimes even whether it's a hotel stay or a vacation or an event you're working at, you're still giving your location. So for me, if I need a shout out at a hotel or a place, I make sure when I'm gone.
Yeah, I spent the day once with Alfie Days, who's like a YouTube star, and he's absolutely massive among teenagers. And we were in Prague, actually, and everywhere we went, these girls showed up and would stand outside the building, and the crowds would get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was like, what the hell is going on? How do they know you're here? And he said, basically, they track my every move on social media. They know where I am, and then they tell each other, and they show up. So I personally found that quite, actually kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like, when you put stuff out there, does it become scary?
I have had similar situations. The great thing, though, is when I have, the almost stalker-type fans, I'm usually with a bunch of professional fighters, and I know I could beat them up.
Right.
So it makes it a little bit, easier. But at the same time, it is scary to know that there is those people following your every move. And when having people show up to, like, the hotel here to, like, take pictures with me, you have to understand that you just have to keep safety first, and there is those people that'll follow you everywhere. But, yeah, it's a hard thing to conquer.
Okay.
It's hard because they're fans, so you want to embrace them. These are the people who adore you, so you don't want to be mean to them in a way, but there's definitely a barrier.
Okay. So you alter your lives to deal with these fans. The interesting thing about that Alfie Days told me is that he says if he just wants to leave his house to go get a coffee at Starbucks, he has to build in 2 hours to his day because he will be recognized, and he wants to say hello to every single fan. He doesn't want to be that guy who's like, not today. What happens? Do you ever make a mistake on social media? What happens then? Do fans like pile on and criticize you? How do you deal with that?
So the mistakes that I make on social media is, we all know that, sometimes the autocorrect on your phone doesn't say exactly what you mean. So then you'll have thousands of people saying, you said that wrong, and then having to go back and fix it.
You spelled this wrong. I'm like,
yeah, those are the mistakes. But other than that, I do consider myself someone who is very business savvy. So I am very conscious about what I post and making sure everything is, politically correct and isn't going to offend anybody.
Okay. Charlotte, do you do that too? Are there topics that you avoid?
yeah, for me, it's just keeping everything open, not honing in on one subject. I don't talk politics. For me, my Instagram is a way to get away from that. Look at this as something, funny or pictures, and kind of take you away from the CNN and the Fox stuff.
Okay.
Do
you use your social media platforms to promote any kind of messages, like, I don't know, charities or nonprofits or causes you're involved with?
I definitely do. I feel like I was put in the UFC and I was given this platform for a reason. And fighting in the UFC, I've said it before, it's not my purpose. And me winning a belt and winning fights and going on shows, it's definitely not my purpose, but it is my platform. And I hope to use my social media to promote. I just put a book out this year, and it talks about some extreme bullying that I went through in high school. So I definitely want to speak out about anti-bullying is a really big one that I want to promote. I want to help change the world and hopefully change our youth, because there was a certain point in my life where I thought I couldn't make it, and I've now come from there to here, and I feel like I can use my audience to help change things.
And do fans tell you it helps?
They definitely do. I have a few young girls that I've gotten in contact with. I've had a few reach out to me, or parents reach out, and every time I'm in New York, I meet with my friend Alexa, who I met on social media, she's a young girl who went through extreme bullying in high school, and trying to help her get through the day-to-day, and being able to touch with those, just even one person I know that everything I do, it's actually worth something, because I can help these young people, survive.
Okay. And Charlotte, do you have a cause?
Kind of the same thing. I mean, I definitely went through the whole, I think anyone in high school goes through that bullying thing, so that I'm really into the anti-bullying KIND campaign. And for me, I work with Best Buddies, which is a organization for disabled children. So if I can share that and make it more aware. I've had people donate on my page to my charities, Children's Hospital of LA I work with really closely. So yeah, I think it's very, very important, whether it's just getting it aware or helping other people out. So using it as a platform in better ways of just a hot picture or something, I think is super important. You may not get as many likes, but I think it's huge.
That's kind of depressing. Do you get fewer likes for the charity stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Or the cause-related things?
Of course, you have a specific audience that tunes in because of your image, but I feel like I've done really well, and it is hard for me to balance, when I got married. Do I post a ton of pictures of me and my husband, and is that going to change things? But it actually helped build my demographic. I have a much larger female fan base now, and actually like when my demographic changes from being strictly men who follow me to now I have these, young girls who I can help and who I can change. And I know that, likes necessarily isn't the end all be all. It's using the platform you were given for a reason.
Interesting. And do you involve brands? Do you have partnerships with companies who sponsor you and stuff like that? Talk a little bit about that, Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's a modeling campaign, everything ties into how many posts you do, or a commercial, or even going in for movies and auditions, you need to write down your following. Booking a film, they want to know these are how many people are going to see the film, or stuff like that. So it's super important to have that following with work.
Yeah.
I feel like I even right now, I don't feel like I have enough followers as some of these other people do. And I've lost so many jobs just because of my following, not my talent, my following, which kind of...
You've lost jobs because the following is too small?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
How
true.
many do they want?
A lot. but it's true, and I see a lot of talent that's, not important because of that, so...
Okay. The countdown clock is telling me that is all we have time
We're off.
for. Thank you very much. Paige and Charlotte, thank you so much for doing this.
Bye, guys. Thank you all.